These guys are doing such a great job of reaching out to trucking companies. I have about 70 appointments to do in about 2 weeks, so we're going to try to move along here as quickly as possible, if we can get this to start from the beginning here. So real quick, my name is Mike Temple. I'm the president of Invisaflects, and these guys have asked me to talk to you directly this morning. Just so you guys have some background, Invisaflects, when we originally started the company, it was really focused on the residential and commercial building market for energy solutions. And so we work with hundreds and hundreds of energy consultants that mostly are focused on architectural applications, really. And the one thing that we realized about, I'd say, a year and a half ago, we started looking at, well, there's a lot of applications for anything that reflects heat. Now, there's cryogenics, there's evaporative heat loss that happens with large tanks like oil tankers. And one of the big ones, though, that stuck out to us as a big sore thumb was the trucking market, because there's so many restrictions on you because of your size and the weight and all that stuff. So coatings makes complete sense in your guys' business. And so when we started looking at where are we going to expend our marketing dollars and our time and energy and focus, we started looking at the trucking market as being probably what we would call low-hanging fruit, because you guys just, where there's pain, there's going to be a lot of interest, and you guys obviously pay through the nose for a bunch of diesel that you don't need to. And also too, there's precious cargo. Truckload of plasma is probably worth $1 million. A truckload of beef, $500,000. So it makes sense for us to discuss this type of technology with companies like your own. So I'm going to get started here. So the problem that we have is that most of the trailers that are on the road are under insulated. And if you put this into comparison, most of you guys own a house, I'm sure. Just look up in your attic at the amount of insulation you have in your home. You probably have an R38 or better. You probably got 3-4 feet of insulation up there, and it's 6 times what you have on a trailer. The crazy problem is that, the refrigeration trucking companies, I'm actually shocked. You guys are one of the better ones in regard to having an engineering team and people that are interested in research and development and looking for new technologies. I have had 2 conversations in the last 2 days with 2 of the largest trucking companies in the United States. And I will just say this plainly, they are lost. They have no engineering staff or research and development staff looking for technologies or solutions to help them to save money. And I'm just flabbergasted, because the rest of the world, you go to any other large company and they're looking for answers for, ways to leverage their infrastructure and make more money, So why is it that these companies haven't, found this technology, or why haven't they, discovered this? Well, all of them are trying to maximize space, obviously. They're all trying to minimize their weight, and they need something that's rugged that can hold up to the rigors of the trucking industry. Well, we all know that it's a tough industry. But sadly, a lot of companies just haven't consulted with experts in this field. They thought that they knew everything about aftermarket technologies because, they read a trade magazine or something like that. Well, not everybody's advertising in trade magazines, and not everybody's going to trucking shows that have a lot of sense about science, okay? But we're trying to change this. Obviously, we're reaching out to the people that are vice presidents of operations and engineering teams at trucking companies. We're trying to make a difference here and explain this. This is a short video. This is an expose that was done locally here in Iowa. The area that we're in, you guys don't know anything about us, but in the area that we live in, there are about 10,000 engineers living in the area that we're in. And when you have 10,000 engineers living in an area, you're going to spawn a lot of creative ideas, a lot of companies that do different things with technology. So the corridor, basically the highway running from Iowa City up to Cedar Rapids, and because of Rockwell Collins and our university, we have a ton of technology companies. Ours is just one of many technology companies. But we have in our backyard literally about 10,000 engineers. So that's why they say, created in the corridor is a program they created specifically because there's so much technology that's coming out of the area that we're in, okay? So I'm going to start playing this real quick. It's only 2 minutes long. Hopefully you guys can hear this okay. If you can't hear it, all you have to do is go to our website. It's on the front page of the Invisaflects website, and you can watch this video. It's pretty short.
What if I told you this paintbrush can help save energy? I know it's April Fool's Day, but this actually is a tool being used to lower heating and cooling bills. And many homeowners are learning it's no joke, thanks to a company created in the corridor. You moved in here in 2006.
Yeah.
Okay. 68-year-old Dale Jensen shows me around his modest home that he had evaluated for potential energy improvements a few years back.
I came over and I looked at his home and measured it and made my recommendations.
Energy consultant Bloxley Eccles recommended the installation of a solar fan, LED lighting, and reflective insulation, along with an application of Invisaflects thermal paint.
The Inflex paint is in the ceiling tile.
Jensen says immediately heat stopped escaping through his porous ceiling and saved him a ton of money on his electric bill. Give me an example.
We cut it in half.
Cut your energy bill in half?
Right. Because the furnace, the cold air wasn't coming in, so the furnace wasn't running all the time.
You say to someone, we have a product, a paint that you can put on and it'll heat transfer, it'll make your house more comfortable, lower your utilities, and they're looking at you going, really? I never knew there was such a thing.
Temple incorporated Invisaflects in 2011 after researching heat reflective technology.
NASA had already figured out the solution. We just needed to incorporate it and show it to the public.
He demonstrated this technology using heat lamps to project 347 degrees at 2 panes of glass, one coated with regular house paint, the other with Invisaflects, then measured the amount of energy passing through.
That's the Invisaflects side, right? And then on the side without the Invisaflects, we're like right around 300.
That's a difference of about 100 BTUs.
Thanks to our partnership with Yellow Blue and their energy consultants that are throughout the United States and Canada, we've been able to, put this into hundreds and hundreds of homes.
There's also an application for the trucking industry, especially refrigeration trucks.
And we have a white paper that talks about this specifically. By just coating the top of a refrigerated truck, you can stop the thermal flux of heat by 15%.
And that, in turn, can lower diesel consumption. Another example of how this thermal paint product pays for itself in reduced energy costs.
Invisaflects, even though the upfront price is more than an average paint, the actual cost of it is nothing, because anything that pays for itself is free.
There's also a formulation to prevent evaporative heat losses in fuel tanks like propane. You can find a lot more information about Invisaflects at fox28iowa.com.
All right, I'm just going to go to the next page here. So up in the right-hand corner, we've just got a small grid. We've done an analysis just to show people an idea of how much carbon is prevented from entering the atmosphere with 1 truck, 5 trucks, 10 trucks. And it's enormous. And we don't talk about this probably enough, but the advertising value proposition, public relations value to removing this much carbon from the atmosphere probably is as valuable as the gas that we save, okay? Because you can brag till kingdom come about the amount of effect that you have on the environment by putting these coatings on. So, and I know that some companies, they go, oh, we're not really that worried about, you know what, your customers and the people that are out there, even if you're not, even though you're working for somebody else possibly, your customers can still brag about it. They can still say, we are using these coatings and we are changing the world, saving the environment, saving the planet by using this. And we're eliminating these hundreds of thousands of pounds. They can brag about that all day long. So we provide huge insulation value with a little change to the weight, space dimension, and it's rugged. Invisaflects is here to provide consulting, education, and implementation of this technology to eliminate unnecessary fuel expense, tremendous amounts of carbon pollution. Every gallon of fuel presents over 20 pounds of carbon into the atmosphere. And we are, some people say, well, why doesn't my OEM talk to us about this? Why don't they know? Well, because we're just starting to talk to the OEMs. A lot of them don't know even yet that you know more than they do at this point in some cases, okay? Now, Great Dane is going to know about it in probably 30 days because CRST has said that they want to put this on 15 of their trailers for these plasma trucks that they have. And so Great Dane is going to learn about it in short order. Of course, they're one of the biggest suppliers in the country. But a lot of people are like, well, how come I haven't been talked to about my sales rep? I'm sorry, we haven't got there yet. Okay. It doesn't change the fact that it works and that it saves money. I mean, it's still, the fact is it works, you know. This is the white paper that we talked about on the video. And really all I want to point out is the cumulative effect is to reduce the heat load by 15%, okay? And I can't tell you the name of the company because of confidentiality, but there's an ice cream company that's down in the southern United States. They just did the roof of their trucks. It cut the cool down time in half, and they say it changed their fuel consumption by 50%. And that was just the top of their trucks. It's an ice cream company. Of course, they're burning a lot of fuel too. You know, I mean, that's it's not like somebody who's hauling tomatoes. And they are down in the southern part of the United States. This is the test that we began last year, and it was a pretty lengthy test. It's over in Scotland. Not real hot there. They don't have severe temperatures like southern United States. But it actually would be comparable to probably like Iowa or Pennsylvania or New Jersey, I would say. Their temperatures are pretty mild. So in this test, it's located in Dingwall, Scotland. They have stationary trailers that they use for storage. And the food distributor is called RSF Scotland. And I guess, you know, I've never been to Scotland myself, but apparently this is a company that supplies food to the Caledonian Sleeper Train, which is a kind of a famous tourist attraction type thing over there. And a lot of people, when they travel to Scotland, they go on this train. The trailer was coded after they had already monitored for like 60 days to see what the usage was. They had data loggers on there, and then they put the coatings on. They didn't actually even coat the entire trailer. I will tell you one other caveat about this story. The trailer, but before they coated it, was sweating on the outside. There was actually a level of condensation that was happening because of it being cold inside and it just not being insulated well. They coated it with Invisaflects and it immediately stopped sweating. That's how good this works. So when they data logged after coating it, they saw a 19.56% savings on electricity. And that is with them opening and closing these, this thing all the time. Because they use it like we would use our refrigerator at home. You know, they're using it like a walk-in cooler. So some real quick science. A lot of people, you guys that are engineers, you're going to get this. I don't need to tell you a whole lot of this. But sometimes people, if they're not an engineer, they don't know this stuff. But traditional insulation like you have in your house a lot of times works like a sponge. It's there. It's a big airspace. The airspace is what insulates, okay? With reflective technologies like ours, it works more like a mirror. It works more like the vest that they put on when they do x-rays. It's not super thick, but it still stops infrared heat transfer. And so it works more like a mirror would be with reflecting light. We have specially coated microspheres. It's not because they're ceramic that makes them work. It's because the coating that's on the microspheres is able to reflect infrared heat. And you can look up in any science book, 99.9% pure aluminum reflects 97% of radiant heat. The difference being with our product is that you don't see a shiny surface because the microspheres are encapsulated into a coating, which of course has pigment. So you don't get to see the microspheres. However, you can kind of feel them, on the surface. You can kind of feel like a difference in the surface, the way the surface feels. And this is more of a micro level. I mean, this is obviously they're blown up here. There is a certain level of soundproofing. That doesn't really matter, I don't think, to anybody in the trucking industry. There is a certain level of the ability to make the surface more rugged with microspheres. As you guys probably know, 3M and some other companies, they sell microspheres, ceramic microspheres and glass microspheres to the industry for just the purpose of making the surface more rugged. But that's not the main intent with what we do. So the coated microspheres inside the coating create a radiant barrier that is only seen by the infrared and ultraviolet light and invisible. It's invisible to your eyes, of course, because it's embedded. And NASA invented this technology for extreme heat reflection. And just so you guys know, there's a bunch of bogus BS products that have been released for many years, and they claim to be reflecting heat by ceramic microspheres, and they're just bogus, okay? And so I don't want to hear about super therm from anybody because that stuff's nonsense, okay? And most of the products out there that they say reflect heat, all they're doing is using white pigment, titanium dioxide, to reflect the solar radiation. but that's not how this product works, okay? It really is using NASA-based technology. Now, we did some tests in our own laboratories using drywall, and drywall actually is, not that far off from the thickness of these trucks. It's pretty pathetic how thick the trucks are. But we got a 16-degree difference using drywall tests, using the same type of heat lamps like you guys saw in the video. And then the other test bed that we did was actually here in Iowa with a trucking company that hauls beef from Iowa clear out there to Washington. You can see the map that's up there behind. And then on the way back, they haul produce. So on the way out there, they're down below freezing. On the way back, they're just a little bit above freezing to keep the stuff cold. So the small trucking concern is called Harvest LLC. They only have like 7 trucks. And we coated a 53-foot trailer. We did the roof, and we did the inside surfaces as much as we could. We weren't able to coat the area where the vent is down the middle, but we did coat as much as we could of the walls and the ceiling. Okay, and so then the test was to run a truck the same week with the same route and the same products and compare the two trucks. And they actually contacted us before we contacted them to let us know that the other truck burned half of a 50-gallon fuel tank, 25 gallons of gas on the trip out and back, versus the truck that we coated burned less than a quarter of a tank, so less than 12.5 gallons of fuel. And then they continued to watch it as the driver kept driving for the consecutive weeks, and he was able to drive 8,500 miles of travel time. There's idling in there obviously too, on only 40 gallons of fuel. And the guy Jeff Brockman, when we coated this truck, they actually started up the reefer right after we coated it. And when he saw the cool down period on it, the guy's mouth dropped. He called the owner of the company, because we actually coated it on site at the truck driver's house. We coated it for him right there. And when he saw how quickly it cooled down, he was in shock. I can just tell you, it was like shock. He said, I'd never seen anything like this in my life. So we knew right from the get-go the results were going to be astounding because of what his reaction was. This is just a short list of some of the applications. And since we are talking about applications, I'm just going to tell you something. I don't have any time for people that want to ask me whether this is going to work on a truck. I'll tell you why, okay? Because it's just pure science. I had a little old lady one time. I've been in reflective coatings and reflective products for close to a decade now, and I had a little old lady one time. She said to me, well, will this work in my house? And I said, well, hun, does gravity work in your house? And she said, well, yeah, of course. I said, well, that's true everywhere, right? Because it's a law. It's a law of science.
Hey, it's Chuck.
And the same is true with products. Reflective products reflect heat because it's science. The science is not going to change just because of the fact that what we're coating is different. Whether it's a house or a truck, it makes none of the difference. A bathtub, a bucket of water, we can coat anything and it's going to reflect heat because of the substance that they're using in order to basically reflect it. So it just doesn't change. The properties stay the same even though the application changes. Now these are some numbers that obviously can change according to the trucking company, according to the prices, because the fuel prices change, the amount of fuel that you guys use, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Whatever you're using, we're gonna save you money. But there's a huge financial payback. Usually the return on investment is less than 18 months. We're going to change the amount of carbon emissions. We're going to help you guys save the loss of perishables that you might have in the truck. If you had a reefer that was running poorly, this could help actually to save a load. That we can apply these products in a short period of time, which means there's really not any downtime, so to speak. I shouldn't say none, but very little downtime in order to get the trucks coated. And then what we do is, and the sales representatives that you guys talk to, they will do a specialized analysis for you so that you guys can see the numbers. And if you want to fiddle with the savings and you want to say, well, what if we only save 25%? You can put those inputs in and they'll tell you exactly what they are. but the number of trailers is obviously important, the gallons that you guys use each month for each trailer. The tax bracket, of course, is a huge part of the equation because you get to write this off, and then the average price that you guys pay for fuel. This is just an example of what the report looks like. We have talked to Blue Bunny, so I guess I feel okay putting their name up here, but if we put a report together like this, we can send it to you in just a few short minutes after the phone call. And then one other thing,
Problem is he's traveling.
as far as the implementation, we have local applicators here in Iowa, of course, and we have the ability to provide you, obviously, with the product and the instructions, the manuals to do it yourself, which, of course, if we don't have to provide the labor to do it, that can make a big difference. And then one last thing that's not on the presentation I wanted to address is these changes that have happened recently about the food industry and you know, making sure that the inside of the trucks is sanitary. We have now launched an epoxy-based product that is extremely washable and chemical resistant, so that you guys can wash those trucks down as often as you need and use the chemicals and what have you to disinfect. Hopefully, you guys are trying to do things the smart way and use organic products if you can. But you know, I understand that you guys have got a certain amount of responsibility there. One of the things with our products that we've used for quite some time is that they are very heavily dosed with titanium dioxide. And I want to be very explicit on this. We're not trying to make an antimicrobial claim. We're not trying to call ourselves a disinfectant, because those are things that get you into trouble and hot water with some of these companies that are out there, are not companies, government entities. But I want to explain two facts. One fact is titanium dioxide is extremely lethal to many types of bacteria. Our product has a lot of titanium dioxide in it. So that's a fact. And I'm not trying to tell you that it's a disinfectant or that it's antimicrobial. I'm just sharing those facts with you. Now, I apologize that this has to be quick. The sales representatives that you guys have will follow up with you, but because of the sheer number of these that we have to do, I'm going to have them follow up with you on the report. I'm going to have them, if you've got questions, you're going to funnel those through them, and I'll answer those for you. We will either answer those by email or by telephone, whatever. But the sales rep that you've dealt with will talk to you and follow up on anything that you have. And we wish you guys the best, and we're on your team. We want to help you guys to make more money. We want to help you guys to be successful, and it sounds like you're already successful. You don't need us, but we can just augment what you're already doing. So it's a pleasure to have you guys on the call today. Nice to meet you guys, and thank you so much. Talk to you later.
I'm sure they're going to do some testing to try to figure it out, right? They're going to need a sample, or do you think that paint code will work with theirs? It should. It's a universal paint code, right?
They just cross it over there now. Just like I can do, I think I have.